Hello, my name is Naur Fonseca, and today in the family series, we're going to have a conversation about mental health and spiritism in the family. Many of us who are not experts in mental health or in the education or health area are sometimes confused by what do we actually mean by mental health. Does it include just the regular sadness, or does it have to be only something more serious like a depression or a bipolar kind of depression? So we are going to have some guests here today that are going to help us understand what mental health means for us in the context of our family and how spiritism can help. There are so many challenges nowadays for parents. For instance, uh, how to deal with social media, how much social media can influence our children in our homes, and also what are the tools that we can use from our spiritist uh, movement, our spiritist practice at home to help our family and our kids to strive. So I'd like to invite our guests today. With us, we have Chris, Artuzu, and Annie. And I'm going to begin with Chris. I would like you to just introduce yourself a little bit, say a little about your background and where you're talking from. Welcome.
Okay. So, hi guys, my name's Chris. I'm here in the UK. I live in Bournemouth. I moved to the UK 4 years ago, about 4 years ago. Back in Brazil, I used to be a teacher and a coordinator. And I used to deal with special education needs too, for I have a diploma in neuroeducation. And here in the UK, I'm still looking for my place, but I started working with education as a teacher assistant first, and a cover supervisor. And now I work in a secondary school. So I've been through primary, infant, primary, and secondary schools here in the UK. So I'm not teaching. That's
Uh-huh.
not my role here,
Very
but I am
interesting.
involved in the educational setting.
Here in the United States, we call it elementary and then middle school from 5 to 8. So that's the secondary school from UK.
Yes,
So
yes.
kids
So it's the
from, let's
same.
say, 11 to 14 years old, something like this.
Well, here it's 11 till 18 because we have the
18.
11 till 16, 15, 16, which is the secondary school. And then we have A levels, which would be high school there.
High school. Yeah.
And yeah, and then they're all in the same school. Yeah.
Interesting. Uh, Welcome, Annie. Please introduce
Thank
yourself as
you.
well.
Yeah, so my name is Annie. I'm from Switzerland. I'm from Brazil, but I'm living in Switzerland now for about 13 years. I
Uh-huh.
have a 6 years old son. So that's my experience with kids now. Yeah, my background, I'm in finance and strategy,
Uh-huh.
but I have a passion for psychology, especially Jungian psychology. So I
Mhm.
started to study some years ago here in Zurich. And I love the connection between psychology and spiritism.
Yeah.
So that's where I think most of my passion is to see this bridge. And of course, through Joana de Angelis,
Yes.
it's something that I'm very passionate about it. Yeah.
I I always like to um, thank you, Dri Cruz, for watching us today, and thank you all our listeners who are all over the world at any time zone. So good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Right? Um, what I wanted to say is um, in spiritism, right, as a practice, when you go to a center, we not only get the lecture, but we have the talk therapies through our fraternal counselors, and also the passes, right? And we usually give this as tools for the families to treat not only their physical bodies, right, but their souls and our needs. And I don't know if you can quote for me, but the definition of health through the United Nations is like is a very holistic definition, right? Includes the body, the mind, and the soul. So I like to think of spiritism as providing this help for the soul, but also there are many professions that can take care of our health, like physical health and mental health, right? So can maybe Chris share with us a little bit of your experience of um, how does spiritism and the medical professionals come together to help our children or families to take care of their mental health?
Well, I'm gonna talk about the UK mostly
Uh-huh.
right now. This is where I am. Well, here in the UK, we have a huge amount of young people presenting with difficulties with their mental health.
Yeah.
So the data for last year uh, is that about 35% of the population, of the young population, between 18 and 25-year-olds, they presented with something mental, emotional, and mental health issues.
Okay.
So here in the UK, the process goes through the school. So
Huh.
if this person presents with difficulties, the family notices, or the person presents with behaviors that would suggest a mental emotional problem, then they get referred through the school.
Got it.
The family gets in touch with the school, and then the school will refer to the health system that is in place.
Mm-hmm.
But because it is too much, because it is a lot
Yeah.
statistically,
Yeah. One third or
then
more. Yep.
yes. So it's a huge amount of people that need help, need something. Um, of course, there is a delay on
Mm.
seeing those people. So,
Okay. Just to clarify the data, if I don't know if you have more details, but what are the most typical presentations of mental health problems that you see in your statistics?
okay. I don't have that data.
Okay, but it's like
Not
depression,
specifically about like
anxiety.
depression, anxiety. I know what the kind of behavior that is presented.
Uh-huh.
So it's generally um, aggressive behavior,
Ah.
self harm. Self harm is very common as a sign for mental health, especially amongst girls,
Mm.
amongst young girls. So, and then if the family hears something or sees something, if the child gets to school and they have signs of self-harm,
Yeah.
they will they will have
They'll
a
be
referral
flagged.
from
Yeah.
the school. Yeah.
Very
So
interesting, Chris. Let me bring in Anne here to share a little bit how the system is in Switzerland. So, what do you hear? What do you see over there?
In Switzerland, it's very interesting because it's one of the birth of psychology and psychiatry. You have here the Germanic part of Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. It's where the psychology and psychiatry was born.
Hmm.
And yet, it's very interesting to see that sometimes they are not as advanced as US or Brazil in terms
Mm.
of early signs, early treatment. So my son is in this spectrum, is in the autistic spectrum, right?
Okay.
And because he's level 1 of support, which means he goes to school, he reads, he speaks, the support here is very low
Huh.
because it's all about, and I think that's very common here as well, Chris. It's all about how it's the performance at school. Are we
Mm.
having issues at school? Then if it's touching the school environment, I give you more attention, right? And recently he started to have signs of, I think in English is ADS, TDAH, I think it's AGS, right? And
ADHD, I think you say.
ADHD,
HD,
ADS is
yeah.
the autistic spectrum.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So he's also hyperactive and attention disorder. And I was expecting that because I grew up with attention disorder. So it's 75% of chance if you have a parent. So I
I
was
see.
watching and waiting to see it, right? But as an adult, it's very different how you deal with that. For kids, it's very interesting to see because it all comes down to medicine instead of treatment and prevention and how to
Ah,
deal better with that. So I have cases of friends here that their kids class, half of the kids are on medicines already for attention disorder and hyperactivity. Half of the kids or the system are not really prepared for this new generation, how they
mm.
cannot be seated down for 5 6 hours. So there is a debate around that.
Oh,
And
and that's
even
so
I
true.
think after COVID, it was not only for kids and an adolescents but also for adults. The statistics for mental health, as Chris was saying, increased a lot. And also I
Hmm.
think we brought to the debate,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of people are not hiding anymore depression, anxiety, and all these things. And kids here, yet they stay 4 to 6 months in line for to have an attention, right? To have a treatment, to see a psychiatrist or psychologist. For example, I my son does therapy from Brazil. We do via Zoom, and I
Yes.
help to coordinate because I could not wait
Many.
until they see it's important enough.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's about prevention, right? What can I do now to make his life
Yeah.
easier and better and to help him cope with this? But I see here that they are not that advanced. And I think that's very curious because when it comes to the knowledge in itself,
Hmm.
it's amazing. You have the Jungian Institute, you have universities, and they all have the academic materials. But when it comes to the practice, I see a lot of things that could be better.
Okay. Thank you. And what I'm hearing is if I was a parent right now, well, I am a parent, but if I was dealing with this at home, that one, um, there are ways that the society through the school can detect things. But I was thinking the parents
Yeah.
are the first one to notice anything, right? And the same way that when we go to our spirit center, we feel as adults peace, we feel taken care of, we feel our emotions calming down, right? So I think I have a question for you. That's how does this begin? How can we begin this at home? How can we prepare at home this emotional environment for our kids to maybe help them a little better, right? With the basic principles of spiritism, right? How can all of that nurture our kids at home before we send them out to schools so they are a little more prepared, they have a little more um, advantage or peace in their souls. So who would like to, Chris, please?
Yes, I'm thinking here because Anne, I am stuck in something that you said that the new generation, we are not ready for the new generation. So I'm stuck with that. And I think that this is really important to that conversation. Um, well, how can family help? If we are spiritists,
Mm-hmm.
we believe that our kids, they don't, they didn't just get started right now.
Yeah.
They have they have loads of experience that they bring from previous lives,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is a rule. And then they're coming ready for a new life, for a new time. How can we help them? It is from the beginning. I know that we have a lot of issues when they come to teenagerhood, but if we treat them as immortal spirits from the beginning, understand that they bring some content with them, they bring emotional needs, that they bring um, their own knowledge from the beginning since they are born. If we treat that, and something really important, I think, uh, there is a cultural difference there. Here in the UK, kids go to school and they stay from 8:30, 9 a.m. until 3:30 at school.
Mm-hmm.
So when parents collect them, they do take the kids home, feed them, prepare them to sleep, put them to bed about 7, and then the day starts next day.
Mm-hmm.
So that thing of sitting down, having a chat, even if your kid is 4, 6, you know, how was your day? Dealing, trying to hear the experiences that those kids had the life that they live here,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to teach them values, Christian values, like how to be good, how to be a better person, how to
Yeah.
love your brothers and sisters. So
Yeah.
this is, in my
Well,
opinion, this is how we do it, and prevent later on problems when they become teenagers.
yeah. Um, what I want to, when you were saying that, what came to my mind was, yes, kids are busy nowadays. I believe even Brazil, they may have changed it. When I went to school, it was only in the morning from 8 to noon or 1 o'clock. But I believe even in Brazil today, they stay at the school longer, right? So two things came to my mind. One is the gospel at home, which is a meeting we do once a week, right? And then the spiritist centers, those who are blessed enough to have a spiritist center nearby, right? That can take them at once a week. So that's already 2 moments in the week that you have talking about Christian values. But more than that, right? When the parents themselves live their lives as much as they can following the principle of spiritism, then that's 24/7, right? So you're having a reaction from a parent. You have um, an understanding, a conversation that we as parents set the tone of voice or the way we resolve conflicts, and more importantly, the way we talk about our emotions, right? Um, so I don't know, and
Yeah,
tell me a little bit
I
what you
can
think about
chip in
that.
on that because
Yeah.
in my house we talk about that every day, right? Because I think if I give two steps back,
Hmm.
as spiritists, knowing that they are immortal souls, they bring all this baggage from different lives, but more
Yes.
importantly, they are trying to heal, they are trying to become better immortal beings, right? First, we understand any mental health from a different perspective. We
Yes.
know that the spirit brings with it those which are not easy but are essential for their growth.
Hmm.
And I started to have some insights later that some of this mental health actually they help sometimes some spirits, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking to my friend because you really need to, as a parent, you need to pay attention and you need to start to study by yourself because I don't think any society is ready for this complete look, for this kind of deep look on the mental, social, and spiritual, right? So we need to be the ones that connect the spiritual with the physical, and we need help from both. So if we have the gospel at home at once a week, but also the evangelização infantil, how you say that in
Yes.
English?
Well, we here we say the spiritism classes for the youth.
Spiritism classes for kids. But also, if you have an opportunity from every day to talk about that, or every time they committed a mistake, because I see the way I talk to my kid today, and
Hmm.
sometimes I wish someone has talked to me, but of course, my mom didn't have this knowledge back then. In the 80s was
Yeah.
survival in Brazil, right? We came from school, we played, and they were trying to survive. But now, every time he, loses his temper or he's more aggressive, I talk to him about not doing to the other what he doesn't want to himself. And in principle, we are already teaching him something very meaningful and moral, but it's also practical, right?
Yeah.
And as spiritists parents, we have the opportunity and the tools to do
Yeah.
that. So, for example, for me, I found a way of every evening I spend about an hour with him reading,
Yeah.
talking until he's accepting this because I know there is going to be an age where he says, "Hey, mom,
Yeah.
I want to go to sleep," right?
Uh,
But until I have this influence, every day I decided I read a story and,
yeah.
the books from Louis Who helps a lot because
Yeah.
I talk about the concepts that I know a 6 years old brain does not understand, but an eternal soul does.
Yes.
And it's going to start to imprint, right?
Yeah.
So I always remember that I'm talking to someone that maybe has 200 thousands, millions of years and
Yes.
millions of incarnations. So he's going to understand deep
Yeah.
down what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference when you are a spiritist parent. You have the tools
Yeah.
to help them to understand, right?
Yeah. I'll just highlight a few things you said. For instance, reading time, bedtime, right? It's a great moment that we can, by selecting stories that have a moral compass or uh, you cited Louise Hu, which is an author, right, that uses sometimes the famous cartoon in Brazil of the Monica gang, right, Monica and
Yeah.
Cebolinha gang. And but there are many other books that have been translated to English, and I think this is one of the initiatives of Sembradores, is to try to create more material, more books for kids in Spanish, in French, in English, in whatever language are accessible to them. So
And
I think
that's
that's a
amazing.
great resource, right?
Yeah. But also, what I realize, especially where I am here, is parents needs to be the first one to feel a sign of something that is not going really well.
Yeah,
And I see a lot of parents I talk to, they stay a long time in denial,
yeah,
right? And I think it should be on the other way around. The diagnostics in itself doesn't matter as much if you get help
yeah,
up front, because if later on it's not really that diagnosis, doesn't matter, you're already helping them. So
yeah,
I have 2 or 3 colleagues from work that their kids behave exactly like mine, which is not a normal behavior. I tell you, it's not very common. So
yeah,
when we talk, are the only parents that we see the same kind of behavior. And I have him in therapy, and I have all these possibilities of diagnosis, because I also don't like to label people, but this these difficulties for more than 2 years now. And
yeah,
I see them saying, of course, they are not spiritisms. I cannot have this such an open conversation, but sometimes I
yeah,
say, have you talked to anyone? Have you seen
yeah,
that? Because they stay a long time in denial. And I think I'm seeing the question here. It's the first thing is to accept that a lot of us, probably all of us at one point in life, will struggle with a different kind of mental health issue
mm-hmm.
and seek help from the beginning. I think it's the shorter we stay in denial, the better, right? And the
Yeah,
kids, they are really dependent on the parents to really see it. And I'm sure, Chris, you see at the school that you realize already that something off with that kid or with that teenager, and the parents are not really seeking to understand what
yeah,
is happening, right? And it could be as simple as anxiety issue that if you treat at the beginning with all the tools we know, but also, I don't know, some homeopathic, some therapy, that helps them to suffer a
yeah.
lot less and also to advance this.
I can share a little bit also, and I invite Chris to tell me what's the UK like. But my wife, she works for something called the Early Intervention Center here in Boston area, and that's a resource that parents, right, can use. It doesn't matter if they're spirits or not, and they a group of professionals, speech pathologists, developmental specialists. They visit the home of the child in their familiar environment, and they will do an assessment and maybe a diagnose. If
That's amazing.
they may make a referral for a doctor for a diagnose, and they will teach the parents to interact, to play with the kids, so they um, improve, or meet those milestones of development. And my question is a little controversial, so sorry, Chris, if I drop the bomb for you, but sometimes the parents take the easy way out, right? And when the kid is emotionally unstable, they give them a screen. Oh, go watch something because
Oh,
you're too
this is
annoying right now,
universal.
right?
Yeah.
So, Chris, how does that, like, should we avoid it, or what is the impact that we know of the screen time has on our children's emotional health?
So, screen time. Um, I was thinking about that. Um, Rosandro Klinge.
Yes, from Brazil,
Rosandro
right? Yeah.
Klinge is a psychologist who is also a spiritist in Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched a lot of lectures from him, and I find very interesting. And there is some data that he offers that a meeting
Oh, I think we
Oh, I
lost
think we
Chris.
lost her. Yeah.
That's okay. Um, I don't know, Anne, if you want to pick up from where
I,
she
I,
left.
I can pick up a little bit and then she comes back to the point,
Yeah,
because the effect of screen time for kids and kids behavior and mental health, it's a lot more than some parents think of,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I just pick up a bit, Chris. I'll make some comments because we lost you
Yeah.
for a minute. Yeah, but
Yeah.
and if you don't believe in that, make an experiment. You
Mm.
can see that the moment you reduce the screen time, the behavior and the mood of the child improves in the next 6 hours. It's unbelievable. And I am sympathetic to some parents. I know it's difficult. I know that parents of neurodivergent kids are even more difficult. I understand that. But it is a direct impact in their behavior, mood, the ability to learn, and the ability to play. The more they watch screen or play with screen, the less they have the ability to play.
Yeah.
So it's so easy to see if you're
Yeah.
doing an experiment, and I've done that. It's so easy to see the effect that we should do everything in our power to reduce to a bare minimum.
Yeah.
Is so,
Maybe
Chris, make
Chris.
your point.
Yeah, I don't know if
Oh,
you
okay.
want to come back. Is there a particular age that screen time is appropriate, or does it grow with time? Anything like that you can contribute?
This question is complicated because here in the UK, and this is something that's happening around the world,
Mm-hmm.
homework is being given to the kids through the screen. So
Oh.
they will have necessarily. I have two kids. One is 12, the other one is 16.
Mm-hmm.
They will necessarily be at least 3 to 4 hours in the screen every day.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And well, can I come back to my point
Yes,
before?
please.
So, Rosandro Klinge says that a meeting with a friend will bring you a lot more joy and happiness, the perception of joy and happiness, than anything else, like buying a new car. So, those big events in life. And then, if kids are in the screen, if they are playing video games, which is what they do these days, what teenagers do, what kids do, they go to Roblox, Minecraft,
Yeah.
all those they seem harmless, but all those games, they're not meeting with friends, they're not having a conversation, they're not looking eye to eye
Mm-hmm.
and understanding, realizing the facial expressions of emotions.
Yeah.
So how harmful is that for human? And we know, as spiritists, as people living in this world these days, I think that the biggest challenge that we have here in this life is to try to see, understand, be empathetic, understand the others, have a relationship, even if it's in the work settings, if it is academically, we have to be able to communicate. We have to be able to have a relationship with other people. So
Yeah.
how does that affect if kids are not learning how to see expressions, how to understand emotions, how to recognize reactions from their peers?
Yeah.
So it's very, very complicated. We
I.
too here had the experience of my kid being grounded, of course, for the first, I don't know, he was grounded for a week. He was out of his cell phone for a week and he's 16. So for the first day, he was awful. But
Mm-hmm.
again, the joy, the ability to communicate, the you know, by the end of 1 week, he was more relaxed. He was
Mm-hmm.
more himself. There was a huge improvement in his behavior.
Yeah. I'm gonna share something here in the United States. There's it's so rich. I think we should stay here for like 3 hours to be able to share everything we need to share. But here in the United States, in the particular place that I live in the northeast, there is a movement for teenagers, and it's like 3 days, like a long weekend that they meet, and when there's a holiday here in the United States, and now I think it's about 100, 120 teens uh, that meet for that weekend. No cell phones, and they couldn't be happier. So there are good experiences for us to share, and that's a good one. It's if you want to know more, I think you can just look at the youth retreat in the United States and try to find the people responsible so they can share how it's done. It's a good model to replicate to other places in the United States, in UK, in Switzerland, if you're able to.
In the United States, you have a summer camp called Camp Grounded, and it's for adults.
I
And
see.
the grounded part is that you're not allowed electronics,
Yeah.
and so it's something that's already happening. People are seeing
Yeah.
how harmful it is,
Another
and
thing I'd like to share, like you mentioned that the schools in UK and many schools here in the United States as well, the kids are required to have a computer because they need to get the homework. That's how they communicate with the teachers, right? But there are still some schools, like here in the United States, there are private schools, for instance. They're called the Waldorf School. That was kind of this style of pedagogy by Rudolf Steiner, who was kind of contemporary of Allan Kardec. They live about the same time. And they don't have any screens. A lot of time in nature, groups of children, um, a lot of recess time, free time to play, right? So if you are able, if you're blessed, right, to have that opportunity, it's a great alternative kind of education for children as early as, before kindergarten, right? Before, so early childhood, they have a space that they can grow without screens, with a teacher, in a much home-like environment. So it's very healthy.
Yeah,
Do,
we
do,
are
do you have
very
this kind of
lucky.
schools over there? Yeah.
Yes, Rudolf Steiner has a huge influence here in Switzerland, and
Mm-hmm.
Waldorf schools are in the public schools. Some of the philosophies are already in the public schools, right?
Interesting.
And they value a lot to go into the nature, and but they also have the technology as well, which I think it's very premature because I
Mm-hmm.
was expecting my son to have. They give a kid an iPad when they are in the third grade, but
Oh,
it's interesting because it's all blocked, but also the homework is gamified. And I was very worried because I know how my son's brain works with games. That's why
yeah.
he has like zero contact with games
Mm-hmm.
because he immediately goes off. And I can see that since he had contact in an airport or a amusement park, and I was like, that's not gonna work. So I'm gonna avoid as much as possible, right?
I
But
see.
he's in the first grade, and the other day they have already 1 hour per week where they are in the iPad doing homework, and was that's
Hmm.
so early. They're six and
Yeah.
a half, 7 years old to have access. Do we need to
Yeah.
be that early? But at least it's controlled. And also there's kind of a surveillance by the police of the neighborhood. So it's interesting because the policeman goes to the school, tell them what they can do, what they cannot do, and have access to everything they see, and
Mm-hmm.
can talk to the parents. So I think Switzerland is still a more controlled environment in that sense than I
Mm-hmm.
see in other places. And I think we're very blessed for that. But it's still, I think, as you said, Chris, if the kid is like 2, 3 hours in the screen doing homework, then
Yeah.
how much can we avoid that as well, right?
Yeah.
yeah. So here in the UK,
Yes.
we do have independent schools, and then there are other methodologies, but it's not the majority. The
Mm-hmm.
majority is public schools, and they follow the same rules. They are very strict. And regarding the screen time, it's not even required that the child has a computer or a tablet,
Mm.
which makes it even worse because they can do that in their phones. So once
Ah.
they have their phones out, they could be studying, they could be on Teams. Teams is very used here, very widely used here.
Mm-hmm.
They could be on Teams or WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So the distraction is there all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I was going to mention that many places are started to ban cell phones in schools, right?
Yes.
Here in Boston and I don't know over there. Um, and so, and one thing that um, I
They are
watched,
not allowed in the schools. It's just for
yes,
homework. Yeah.
just I see what you mean. Even
So
there
it's
in
not in
UK.
the schools.
Yeah,
No, not in the schools.
I see. But one thing that I wanted to kind of touch upon as regarding the dangers of access to screen time, especially social media. And I don't know if you saw that famous UK TV series called Adolescents. Have you seen that? And there's a whole discussion about how the parents thought that by giving the child a computer, a cell phone, they're keeping the child safe because they are at home, right? They're not outside exposed to drugs and gangs and violence. They're just at home.
Yeah.
But that was a problem because there was bullying going around, and bullying is one of the, maybe for that age group, one of the most common um, mental health issues, like, or threats, right, for the mental health of a child.
Hmm.
So we cannot just give a screen as a parent and ignore it. Like, you need to kind of educate or monitor actively, right?
Yes.
Um, do you have any other recommendations or experience with social media in particular?
So, um, that's a good point. For parents, we cannot just relax regarding the use of electronics. We cannot just relax and close our eyes and think and have the illusion that our kids are safe.
Yeah,
Even if we put in place everything that we know, how to block some apps, how to prevent kids, educate kids on how not to talk to strangers in games.
yeah.
um, we can block conversations in games. Even if we do everything, they will find a way.
Mm,
Well, I think that this is part of the generational um, conflict, that I don't feel equipped
mm-hmm.
to deal with everything electronic that my kids deal with.
Well, let's move
So
away a
they
little
know a
bit.
lot more than me.
Yeah, let's move away a little bit from the electronic part, which is, as you said, is more their domain of the younger generation, right? But what are
Hmm.
some signs as a parent that we can tell, that we can notice? Oh, maybe I should talk to my kids about this or that. So, what are some of the common signs that parents can notice in their children regarding their mental health, regardless like how they acquired it? Maybe it was through a screen, or maybe it was through the old-fashioned way of talking to other kids, right? So any comments on that, please? Anne, and if you want to come in, just raise your hand. But Chris, you can start.
Okay. So the first thing is we got to know our kids. We got to
Mm-hmm.
know what's the normal behavior and the challenge, especially when they become adolescents, when they
Yeah.
become teenagers. We have to we have to be very very attentive to what is normal behavior and what is abnormal behavior.
Mm-hmm.
There is a huge change, a huge hormonal change that will affect their behavior, will affect how they feel, how they see themselves. So the body image, which is especially for girls, a huge cause for emotional, mental, emotional insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
So this is knowing your children, and knowing what is normal, so that if anything comes out of normal, um, then we will at least raise a red yellow flag, and then we can have start having conversations, and go deeper into what happens, what's happening, what's going on, did anything change, are you all
Mm-hmm.
right. And
Okay.
kids with doors closed
Mm.
inside of their rooms, it's not an option. We're
Okay.
here to, we are a family. We make a family. We are brought together in this life so that we can live together. So we have to be together. So kids going to their rooms and closing their doors is not an option.
Yeah. I Anne, you want to say something? Because I believe there's a grade, right? So maybe if a young child will have different signs from a teenager, right? So there's a range of signs that we parents need to navigate, and sometimes we are parenting a teenager for the first time, so the parents also need to get easy on
Yeah.
themselves because they're also learning. Do you want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
share
but
your experience, in, please?
yes, it's interesting because there are lots of behaviors that I was expecting around the teenagers see, and I see already in a 6.5 years old, and I was like, okay, I was not
How is that
expecting
possible?
that, right? Like, saying that is bored all the time, that
Yeah,
that's not interesting, that's so boring. I was like, and he says
yeah,
in English, which is very funny. I was like,
yeah.
why, right? But I think it's this maintain build and maintain this open dialogue, that they
Mm-hmm.
know that they can come and talk to you about anything, because they're not going to be judged, they are not going to be talked to in a bad way, they're not going to be criticized, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
think the environment that we create at home is what will hopefully protect our kids, because we
Mm-hmm.
also need to be careful. One thing I'm learning as first time parents is that sometimes we do everything that is possible, everything that we know of that is good, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't work, right? Because they are
Mm.
immortal beings. They bring a lot of baggage. And sometimes we just kind of protect a bit, but they need to go to their own struggles anyway. But I think it's to create this respectful, loving environment. And as Chris said, pay attention all the time. We don't rest anymore. I think as mothers and fathers, the moment they are born, forget it. You're not gonna
Yeah,
be relaxed anymore, right? You are
yeah,
on all the time. But even simple things, I started to see some signs of anxiety. In a 6 years old, I was like, oh my God, what do you have to be anxious about it, right?
yeah,
And I started to see, and of course you start to talk to and start to dig, and you see some things at school. You see some friends that are saying some things he doesn't like, or in changing the environment. So we need to be very careful to provide an environment. And i'm I'm now being theoretical because I don't have a teenager and I know it's
yeah,
not easy, but I think that's the best chance to keep that door open once
yeah,
they go to the teenager, see, right? Because I know I had this relationship with my mom, so she did her best. I'm sure she made a lot of mistakes, but one thing she did completely right was, doesn't matter what I was going to talk about, she would be listening and she wouldn't judge me. And
yeah,
she would refer to things she had when she was a teenager.
yeah,
And that helped a lot. I think this respectful environment at home. It's one of the main tools we need to, strive to keep. And
yeah,
it's not easy sometimes. I'm sure you hear things that your hairs are like, oh my God, what I'm gonna do now,
yeah,
right? And then you breathe and you say, okay, I cannot be judgeful now. So
yeah.
I'm sure it's not easy.
Again, I see a question here on the screen for us. And before we go to it, it's the question is what if it is the parent who are suffering from depression and anxiety? How can
Mm,
spiritism help, right? But before we do that, so Chris, you start thinking about it. I just want to highlight something that Anne mentioned here. Sometimes if you wait too long until our kids are adolescents to open the door, because now they want some privacy, right? And by law they are entitled to some privacy and they want to be in their rooms alone, and now you're trying to talk to them, maybe that's too late, right? Well, it's never really late. Right?
Exactly.
But we need to create that habit from the beginning. And I just remember this is another resource that is very important, I think, for parents. It's called How to Talk So Kids Will Listen, and How to Listen So Kids Will Talk.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
name of the book, right? And it's very easy to read because it's full of cartoons with situations where something happens, the parent reacts one way, which is the normal way we would react, and then a correction. How could you act differently? And it begins very early for children, maybe 6, 7, right? When they're able to express themselves and talk and think. And I remember there's a story. The little girl have uh, a turtle, and the turtle died, and she was devastated, right? And she went to her father, who was watching the game on TV, and she starts saying, "Oh, my turtle died." And the father was so busy watching TV, he said, "Oh, no problem. We can go to the store and pick another one." And now he has a full tantrum in front of him, right? Because that's not what the kid wanted, right? So the second set of cartoons plays differently. The kid comes along and says, "Oh, my turtle died." The father turns off the TV, turns the chair towards the kid, and just says, "Oh, that's sad." And that, yes, I really liked him. Oh, we're gonna miss him. Yes, and his name was. So he only repeated back to her the emotions that she was expressing, because the kids still don't know names of emotions. They're learning. So the parent is teaching what's the emotion that you're saying, and by the end, she didn't get a new turtle. That's not what she wanted or needed, was just have that time to talk, right? So you begin early on and go. Um, but now, what if it's the parents themselves that are going through a
Yes.
rough patch, a rough time? How can they get some help?
I think for the health, the mental health of the whole family, of everybody, it is important that we keep ourselves real.
Uh-huh.
Um, for our mental health and for our kids' mental health, that we understand that nobody's perfect. And if we show that to our kids,
Mm-hmm.
if we show that we don't have all the answers, we understand that we don't have all the answers, and we don't have to have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that makes us feel um more at ease with ourselves. Maybe if we are struggling, we show that to our kids, and we let them help,
Yeah.
and we share our emotions with our kids, and we let them know how we're feeling. That could help the both of us and the kids.
Yeah.
The kids will understand that it's all right. It's all right to struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
And gives you purpose, because you're going to see the reaction of a kid that loves you,
Yeah.
moving energy
Yeah.
to
You
cater to your needs.
you
So,
touched a very important point that I remember here. There's another set of books called Positive Discipline. It's another set of books. They're not spiritist books. I'm mentioning things that are, let's say, at the top of the wave of education. Things are researchers are coming up with these things, right? And one of the steps to gain, because they talk a lot about punishing, right? And punishment have quick results. We know it works, right? No phone for a week. It works. You're going to get the behavior you want, right? But that's a punishment. And there are side effects, there are long-term side effects of punishment, like they will resent, they may start try to be sneaky next time. They right? So there are very bad consequences of punishment. But trying to win the cooperation of the kids by sharing from your own experience. So first you listen, as we talk about the turtle. First you listen, right, and then you commiserate. You share your own experience. Well, when I lost my dog, I so because you listen first, now the kid or the adolescent is open to listen to you, right? And you may say, and I'm struggling with this. You share something personal, right? And now I need your help to come up with a solution. So now they are part of the conversation, right? They feel included. They feel they belong in the family, and that's what the kids want. They sometimes they feel like they are the um, the least powerful, right, in the home, right? They are told what to do all the time, right? They don't have any power over here, right? So they just want to belong, to have. I remember in that book, one of the stories was that the kid said, "I want to vote." That was, the complaint about the kid wanted to. I want to vote, right? But kids don't vote in no country. But what he meant was he wanted to belong to the family, right? The family decisions. He wanted to be part of it, right? So, I just want to reinforce that you said about sharing from ourselves and how it help us to gain the trust of the children or the adolescent to help us achieve peace or whatever goal we're trying to achieve, whatever problem we're trying to solve together.
Can I comment something on
Oh
that?
yes,
Because
please, Anna.
I saw the question, and while you were talking about this, I was thinking also how important it is if you are a parent and you are suffering from anxiety and depression. I think there are a lots of layers into that, and we are not getting into. But I think two things are very important.
Mm,
One, we seek for help.
yeah,
I think as parents,
yes.
sometimes we delay the help because we are so busy with our kids.
yeah,
But actually, I know sounds cliche, but we need to be healthy to be good parents. And
yes,
we cannot delay. And I know, especially if you have small kids, it's very difficult to put yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're talking about things like depression and anxiety, that can derail a lot your capacity of being present. And it's not your fault. You need help.
Yeah.
And as you both mentioned from different angles, I would say that sometimes it's good that you say to your kids that you have these issues and you are seeking help, because that's going to show them that seeking help, it's actually an act of courage, not an
Yeah.
act of failing.
Yes.
It needs to be courageous for you to seek help. And then in this realm of seeking help, I would say make sure you seek the professional help, but also the spiritist help if you have, or any kind of
Yeah.
religion, right? But I think in the spiritism, because there was a second question, how spiritism can help. I
Yeah.
think for depression and anxiety, there are two things. One is the more you learn and the more study, the more meaning you are finding in your struggles, and the more capacity to cope you're developing. But also there are the fraternal conversations, the passes, and all the treatment. The moment you are in a spiritist house, the good spirits are already treating you. And
Yeah.
every time we talk about depression and anxiety, it comes with a combo, right? It's a very multi-dimension issue. And being a kid from a mom that was depressed most of her life, it's
Mm-hmm.
not easy. It's
Yeah.
not easy because sometimes the kids think that the problem is them, and
Mm-hmm.
actually it's you that are not really well that day.
Yeah.
So it's good that everybody understands, but you really need to seek all the
Yeah.
help you can get. And be sure that the community that you are knows and can help and can pray
Yeah.
for you, because there's nothing more powerful than prayer from a group. And sometimes you are in a very bad period, so
Yeah.
use every tool you know of, you heard of, to try to improve and get better, right?
Yeah. So just to summarize, I think it's number one, if you are depressed, anxious, seek professional help first, always, right? And spiritism will help also. And I can remember from the book, The Messengers, I think chapter 18, there's a story of there's this home where they practice the gospel at home
Yeah.
frequently,
Isabel's home,
right?
yeah.
And in one of that part, I'm not related if it's Isabel's mom or something. I forget now exactly the relationship, but this grandmother comes in during the dream of the grandchild to help her, and she's talking to her. So the granddaughter is dreaming, and the grandmother is saying, "Don't be so upset about the lies." So reading today with parents' eyes, I think maybe the grandchild was being bullied and kids were kind of teasing her at school. So don't be worried about the lies, because the lie is like a serpent and the truth will shatter it, and it you will become a stronger Christian for learning how to deal with it. I'm summarizing, right? But then the child will wake up and she'll not remember that she talked to the grandmother, or she the message, what the words she said, but she'll remember the image of the snake breaking up, right? And she, most of all, the most important thing, she will feel comforted, right? And that's kind of the next day she'll be able to face that friend or that difficulty at school again with more ease, right? So spiritism can help even in ways that are invisible to us. We don't know. So as long as we keep creating an environment that is healthy in our homes, inviting the good spirits to be with us, they will assist in anything we need, right? So thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, Anne. Chris, if you have any lasting words before we depart, I would like to hear from you, or just say goodbye to our friends and we go out with you. How about that?
Yeah, so I do have to say something because I was thinking about what Anne said, that she reads to her kids at night. And this is, I never did that. I never did that. And it made me feel bad about it. So,
I had
yeah, but it
meditation.
does.
Sorry.
Yes, to all the kids, because we know that there's a routine that had to happen. And I was driving from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. to get home with my kids, and my kids were like 2 and 4 and 6.
Uh-huh.
So it was an issue for me as a mother. It made me feel very frustrated. But then there are other ways to do it, because I was driving too much, because I used to live in Belo Horizonte and I used to
Uh-huh.
work in Contagem.
Oh
So it
wow,
was
Wow.
yeah.
a huge drive every day. uh, huge commuting every day. So at least 2 hours a day we would spend in the car. So there was a game I bought, and it was cards with moral dilemmas.
Mm,
And I used to read to them, and we used to discuss. And there's no right or wrong. It's just
yeah,
like discussing what we would do about
Connection.
yeah.
that. So if you're a parent and you feel guilty for not doing
Some of the things we
That
said
was
here,
not my
right?
some of the things that
intention.
we know that are good, but you cannot fit that in your
Yeah,
routine. Look for ways around it, because you will find a way to creatively fix that. Don't feel bad about yourself about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
many,
So
many
yes,
ways
thank
to
you very
connect.
much for having us
It's
here.
never too late yet. That's
Yeah.
right. We are immortal spirits, so y'all, it's never too late. Let's do the
Yeah.
best we can with the resources we have right now. And
Yes.
I wish our listeners the best of times. May the good spirits protect you all, protect us all. And I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye
Thanks a
bye.
lot. Bye bye.